Welcome to Electrolysis Unplugged, an after-hours chat beyond the probe with Joannie and Stephanie. We're here to dive deep into the world of electrolysis, education, and all things hair removal.
Whether you're a seasoned professional or just curious about the art of permanent hair removal, we've got the insights, tips, and fun stories to keep you plugged in.
So grab your tools, take a seat, and let's get into it. This is Electrolysis Unplugged, brought to you by the Electrology Education Coalition. Oh my goodness. If anybody wants to know, the recording took us 7 hours just to get it buffered after the class the other day.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, 7 hours. It was like very late at night when that finally happened.
Yeah.
So, hey Pauline, how are you, hon?
Okay, are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, how are things out in Vegas, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. How's life in
Yeah.
Vegas?
going good.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
can't remember, was it your niece or cousin that went to school with you? Or
My niece.
your niece. Is she all finished up? Is she working with you now?
Yep, she's working with me. We're pretty
Yes.
busy.
Already, huh?
Yeah, and I just got my first surgical prep
Yeah.
client. She actually just called me today because she called her insurance company and just to find out if they do cover it, because I didn't know what it's like in Nevada versus California, like what they'll
Sure.
even cover.
Mhm.
And she said that they told her, yeah. So now I need to, that's how I actually found this right now, is I was trying to figure out how to download the the class. That I ended up having too many clients on Sunday, so I wasn't able to make
No
it.
worries. Pauline, it's probably going to be available by the end of the month, just because
Okay.
we have to edit the video and all that. So that's what she was talking about, because we've got about 5 hours of continuous footage. We just have to chop it up a little bit and then get it ready to be loaded up.
Right.
We actually
Okay.
had like almost 6 hours of
6
continuous
hours.
footage. Yeah, it was a
Wow.
lot. Yeah. So, but that's okay. So,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
came
I
out
wanted to be there, but I had like 3 new consultations Sunday morning, and I wasn't planning on working Sundays, but I just kind of let my clients dictate when my days off
I
are.
warned you
And
guys with that, didn't I? I would say if you let them, clients will have you come in at 5 in the morning, leave 10 o'clock
okay,
at night.
I'm laughing because one of my clients, it's 6:15 in the morning on Sundays. But I don't mind it though. I'm a morning like I would rather
Yeah,
because I want to be done by 12 or 1. Like that's fine for me.
wow.
busy.
So
That's a
it's
lot.
working.
Just for
Yeah.
the people that might watch this later. So can you tell us a little bit about your business, kind of how long you've been in business and all of that?
Yeah. So I officially opened mid-August, but then I had surgery, so I only had like 2 consultations mid-August, and then I didn't start treating them until beginning of September. And since then, I mean, we've had I would say every week we have about anywhere from 3 to 5 new clients consultations that we do, and so it's been steadily growing at a good pace without too much advertising or anything.
Very nice.
And we're actually priced like higher than the other
Yeah.
competition, mainly just because I know what's out there, and I know the equipment they have, and the just the setting and everything, and
Very nice.
we're able to charge that more premium price, and it's not hurting us at all. So
That's
good to hear.
fantastic. 3 to 5 a week. That's a really good number for your first year too.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
it's your first year, and you weren't even able to do your full first year, which is, I mean,
Right.
that's fantastic. Um,
Yeah.
I hope that for every person that watches this, because the fact is getting somebody in the door, like, selling yourself, basically selling your brand it's the battle, right? I mean, like, why there's 3 electrologists on this call, right? Like, why choose one over the other? And it really comes down to finding that how you click with the people that you're trying to bring in the door, and like make sure that I always say to my students, like, they hire your expertise, of course, but they hired you on top of that because a lot of people can have expertise in something, that they have to find somebody they can trust long term. And the fact that you guys are getting that many, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I had my first surgical prep client last Friday. I just met her.
Yeah.
And, I ended up doing a consult and treatment same day because I normally don't go in, but she's tried the Brazilians and stuff, but she's just not comfortable down there for, everyone.
Yeah.
So it's not that she's not comfortable. She just doesn't feel like she's good at it. She really the faces is like where it's at for her. And for me, honestly, I kind of struggle with faces because of the carpal tunnel. Like
Yes.
I notice it bothers my hand more than other areas. So it kind of just fell into place where I'm just going to end up being that surgical prep, / Brazilians and it's working.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
And
Arlette, by the way, who just joined, is also in Las Vegas, Pauline.
Oh,
cool.
really?
Yeah. And so I think I actually gave her your phone number just in case you're looking for someone else.
Oh, okay.
That's fantastic.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Wait, Arlette, was she the one? Wait, you were the one that also works in media too, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Just making sure my brain's keeping track of the right people. Well, do we want to start with some questions that we have kind of geared up for this week, or do we want to?
Well, I guess, Pauline, do you have some questions that you wanted to bring up?
I mean, all the questions I have is all the stuff that you just went over on Sunday that I missed. So I'm okay with waiting. Unless there's something like quick and easy I can do to fast track my,
Well,
whatever.
have you gotten an NPI already?
No, I haven't done anything. And that's like, how long is the process? I guess would be my main question. Because I do
Getting
have,
an NPI is very quick.
that's quick. And then
Yes.
what's the process after that? Because I know I have the, from the conference in Orange County, because
Yes.
I had went to that one too. So I know that I have like paperwork and stuff. So, and I took pictures and stuff. So I know that I can like dig in and find what I need to find
Sure.
also. But I'm just wondering how long, so I can let this new client know, how long could the process take to get up and running?
What's this client's insurance company? Do you know?
You am I able to? Yeah, I can tab out. Hold on, she texted it to me. UMR.
Most likely, if she called or they called the insurance company and already kind of got the insurance company's okay, to me that says that they're most likely not going to be too complicated to get all the paperwork pushed through.
Okay.
So I would assume probably like 2 weeks is what I would give this person. I would just set yourself up first, get your NPI so that you're kind of ready to go, just to
Right.
make sure that when you're filling out the paperwork, because you do need that. So once you need to start filling out the paperwork and all that, then you have all of your, information in place.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just worried about the records because, not to throw myself under the bus, but just starting out,
Yeah.
my soap notes and those types of things, I know I need a lot of improvement on that. And
Yeah.
I know that with insurance things, I really need to get that dialed in.
Yeah. You have to be more thorough with your, your note keeping and your medical history gathering and all that kind of stuff when you're undertaking insurance for sure.
Yeah. I do have, I think, a decent, because I'm using Vigaro and I, made a form that I have everyone fill out. So I have, I think, a pretty good medical history.
Yes.
It's more of my daily notes of, during each treatment. I make notes for my settings and all that stuff, but as far as the other stuff, I'm
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you have a smartphone, right?
Yeah.
So one of the best things that I've found when it comes to getting into the habit of creating a stronger note of what you've done with the patient is immediately after service, as you're turning down your room, you're pulling the notes from, or pulling the levels from the machine, is you open up your phone and you do dictation and as a general note into the patient's file. Especially with Vigaro, you would just pull it up, you'd hit the microphone and then just dictate in. Now, here's the funny thing. Whenever you do dictations, it literally doesn't ever show up the right way. The other day, I typed in gender affirming surgery and it put in gender grooming surgery or ginger. So it's not perfect, right? But it's good enough so that when you go back and you're like, what's ginger grooming? Like, it's gender
Yeah.
affirming. And then you'll go and fix it. And then you can do a long format. And I give myself time kind of at the end of the day to go back through and go, okay, I saw these 4 people. I dictated what I needed to say in there. And even stuff like synchro is not something that your phone automatically knows, or Appleist is not something your phone automatically knows. So it'll kind of give you weird things and you have to go and correct it, like physically correct those words. So it starts to auto correct your phone to do that. And that's been my big thing about just staying on top of the charting. Is if I can give myself a quick note in the middle of my day, rattle off whatever I need to rattle off, go back at the end of the day, it probably would take me like less than 30 minutes to like transcribe that to a full, like all of the people in my day into full notes.
Okay.
And remember, we had talked about this on Sunday, but we can charge for that.
Yes.
So that
Yeah.
time that you spend doing charting and notes that are pertinent to your patients is chargeable for insurance companies.
Yes.
Okay.
So don't think of it as wasted time.
Okay.
And I mean, it's like they don't even bat an eye in those cases. And in most cases, when it comes to insurance, you want to line item everything that you would charge for. From the time that it takes you to do turn down, from the time that somebody changes, from the time that you're doing charting, every one of those steps gives you that's time out of your day. Like
Yeah.
doctors don't work for free, electrologists don't work for free, right? We all have to pay the bills. And making sure that they understand the value of what we're doing. A lot of people think, especially, and this is one of the hardest things about our industry, is we are a time-based industry. So everybody looks at it and it's like, what do you charge for 15, 30, 45 an hour, right? Even today, there was a question, I
Yeah, I
think,
saw.
on international. And the fact is when you are thinking about your total time, I have a colleague here in my city that charges 70 an hour. I charge 120 to 145 an hour. The difference is that our how we run our practice is substantially different. So I am looking at every piece that I have to value in that time. Those buffers that I have to keep a sterile room, those the time for doing my sterilization, the time for doing my administration, like administrative stuff. Each one of those items is what I need to make my business successful. So it's not that you're paying me 120 an hour. You're understanding that when you pull me away from this 1 hour, that fee goes across my entire day.
And it's not just
Oh,
1 hour,
right.
right? If you're counting all
Right.
this stuff, it's 5 minutes for this, 15 minutes
Mhm.
for that, and that all goes. So really an hour appointment, and like I do a 15-minute buffer, and 15 minutes goes very quickly when you have to do checkout, turn the room over, set up the room for the new client. And so that time, technically, you can't think of it as unpaid. It has to be kind of assimilated into the rate that you're charging and make your rate high enough that, that's kind of part of it.
Right.
Started charging for my consults for that very reason, because I know that a lot of people would say, oh, a free consultation, that's like industry standard. The thing is I'm training someone to understand that the time is valuable, 1. 2, when I'm in insurance spaces, that time is charged. And
Mhm.
so why am I devaluing my time when it's not insurance? That's
Now,
a
what's the charge that you do compared to? Is it
my cash pay is 35. My insurance is whatever my 30-minute window would be. So it's charged by unit. So Medicare out here is $65 for 30 minutes. And they go upwards to about 85 for 35 minutes for some of the insurance companies. I haven't been lucky enough to have any of those patients in my table yet. I'll be very excited when that does happen. But most of my patients are like like Medicare or like Regents, which is like kind of like a step up to the side of that one. And $65 in that case is like definitely covering it. My cash pay clients, I tend to upsell them on extra time when they're in anyway. So
So,
they
so
come in
insurance companies have a max on what they'll pay? They won't.
they have a max negotiated rate per
Yeah.
con.
And
So
you'll have to do that. And when you watch the video, you'll kind of learn like the steps of everything you have to do. So once you're set up and you send for the prior authorization for your patient, you shouldn't be just then starting on the client. You need to execute a letter of agreement between you and the insurance company and negotiate your rate for each 30 minutes. So that's
Okay.
going to be a pretty important thing. So don't take any patient like that, and don't try to bill insurance company without some sort of contract in place that negotiates your rate, because they will underpay or just straight up deny.
Okay.
well, and like the 65, it's 6513 for Medicare. They will not pay any higher than that. I can't squeeze blood out of a turnip, right? So it's like, it's just is what it is. I'd rather $65 in that time frame than not have the patient on my table. So for me, that is kind of like my baseline, but it's pretty close to what my 30
But
minute
I
rate.
mean, 65 is like $130 an hour. You know, that's nothing to sniff at. I feel like people, I mean, it might be, I also feel like some people are asking for a little bit much, you know, sometimes it's just kind of like, instead of raising your rate to be something crazy, we can learn to bill for all the different things that are above and beyond the hourly rate that we're just so focused on, you know, because again, it comes back to what you were saying. It's almost like all you were thinking about is 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45, 1 hour. And yeah, sure, for cash clients, there's really nothing else we can sell except for products, maybe. But
Mhm.
with insurance, it's a little bit different, right? So we have, maybe you're taking a pay cut in the hourly rate if your rate is more than 130, but then if you charge for the setup and the cleanup and the charting, then maybe now your rate was 130, maybe now it's going to be 150, 170.
Mhm.
Okay.
You know, and so it's kind of like a missed opportunity, which is part of like why I've been researching this stuff, you know, so much, and trying to, I guess, like figure it out just to see what exactly we can do, just because, yeah, I feel like we're not doing that, and it's definitely kind of a bummer. So,
Yeah, because I'm charging 170 for genital work,
mm-hmm.
and obviously, you know, the Medicare pricing would be like way less than that. So then,
Yeah.
yeah, then I have to think, is it even worth it to me if I have people paying the other? But yeah, like you said,
Well,
I'll
that would be,
definitely want to.
that's for my electrolysis time. That's not for the rest of the stuff added in. That's not
Okay.
Yeah.
that's not my charting put into there. That's literally just epilation time only.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and that's the thing about like when we start diving into insurance, like I'm giving you a very baseline of like the very minimum I'm willing to step in that room for is this unit price.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because for example, my 30 minutes that I do cash pay is 75 for 30 minutes. Okay. So basically what I'm saying is I am willing to take somebody for $65 in that time for that 30-minute segment and just that part of it. And the difference being that on my cash pay patients, I'm not getting to do administrative costs like I do with my insurance-based clients. So you're able to buffer that. You're able to say, okay, well, my administrative costs came from my insurance-based clients because it allows you to keep your cash pay rates low enough that now people aren't looking at you going like, oh my God, I think you said 170 for the hour.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong. So like I just paid 170 for this hour, like, and now you're trying to upsell me this product, or they're looking at all those different things that they start to think that we are coming at them. Even when they're willing to, clients are still kind of like line iteming the
Mm-hmm.
cost benefit.
Of
Right.
course.
And that's a hard part about this is like, we're not trying to be difficult. We're trying to be reasonable, but when we're reasonable with our time, what does that look like?
Right.
Um,
That's also why I'll get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and be there because they're paying that premium price.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, up until I relocated to Washington, I was a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. pretty much any day I was in the office. My days of 8 p.m. at night are long gone. In fact, my last 8 p.m. at night day was 2020, the week before everything shut down for COVID. I had a 8 p.m. patient, and I said, when I got back from COVID, we are not doing that anymore. Because it's just, I can't be the best technician for you.
Yeah.
And that's the girl that works with me. She is loves to be later in the day. This is like Stephanie's wind down time.
Mhm.
This is my time where like I'm not firing like I did early in the day. I am a very early bird, and I've always been a very early bird ever since my like early teens and youth time. So while I still don't do a 6 a.m. day, now I'm like an 8 a.m. start. So maybe that's like me being like my old self or something. I don't know.
See, I want to start at like 10 and end at 2.
You're like, I'm
That
on
sounds good to
board.
me.
It's a few good hours. We're good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think we get to do that.
No. Oh, no.
Dang, bills keep coming. Yeah. Oh
No.
my goodness. I know that we have like a little over 30 minutes. Do we want to go over any of these questions here? I have a
Sure.
okay. So
Load
our
one up.
first one that we talked about starting to talk about today was how to deal with bad reviews.
Mm.
So in the age of internet, in the age of patients taking their phones and being like, I don't like this place. How do you deal with that? What are we, how do we go about that? So, Joanne, I'm gonna let you go first.
Sure.
And then,
I think that, it's funny because when you get your first bad review, it's like you lose sleep over it, right? And I'll always remember the first one that came through, and it was a client that didn't get along with an employee. And, when you start growing and you have more employees, you're taking on the liability, but also you have less control over what everybody does, like more clients come in. And so it was kind of in my early days of starting to take some employees, and it was they didn't get along. The employee that I had at the time and the client just didn't mesh. And this client had gone on and just left like the most horrendous review that actually I managed to get taken off because it was also offensive. But that's beside the point. The first review came in, and it was horrendous. And I just remember like you feel so bad, and then after that, like now, honestly, I think I've gotten maybe one or two more. And honestly, I can't say that I care so much. I feel like you want to counterbalance it with the positive ones. So when I receive a bad one, I'll do kind of like a push to get a bunch of positive reviews so I can offset the bad ones. So it will just bury it. You know what I mean? And so you ask like your good clients, the ones that come a lot, if they will, do a review for you. And so most of them will end up doing that. And then the bad one just kind of gets buried. And then also you want to do a very professional response to the review that just kind of like says, I hear you, I'm sorry about your experience, like trying to make it right without, to me, divulging to any guilt. I feel like in this era, and I really want to try to use Chat GPT to come up with a good like bad review response just to see what the AI would do. I think that would be really interesting.
like,
I've used Chat GPT for my reviews already.
oh,
Yeah.
Just not bad ones.
ChatGPT is
Yeah.
my bestie. Yeah. You know, I'm very similar to you in this situation when it comes to bad reviews. I will say that luckily, since relocating, we haven't had one. I wait for it because we have a couple people in town that don't like that I do gender affirming care, and I'm just waiting because I live in a
Bring up the
small town.
cuckoos. Yeah.
I'm just waiting. But also like one of the things that yes, I always ask even patients from like my previous, like, so when I was with my family's company for all those years, right? I'll have patients be like, hey, you know, like, I know that you didn't go to that master, but like, would you be willing to just drop a review about your time with me? And it kind of just helps grow that. I ask my friends and my family to weigh in on their experiences with, because everybody I've given like at least one free service. I'm like, please weigh in, you know, like that it makes a big difference.
Sure.
Then the other part is really responding. I mean, the fact is like we did have somebody that was like, we've had some really spicy ones over the years. And most of the really spicy ones tend not to be true statements. They tend to be people looking to kind of like start a fight, looking for free stuff.
Yeah.
Occasionally, they're not even patients of record. And
It's very
so,
transparent, right? Like most people will read that review. I think that most people
yeah,
that, are intelligent enough will read that kind of review and go, that person sounds a little crazy,
yeah,
they would know.
sounds all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like so my transparency is a big thing, especially because usernames never match people. And
Mhm.
so I will go into the review and I just say, I would like to resolve this issue for you. Unfortunately, due to your username, I cannot find you in our records. If you could please email me at this email with your first and last name, I can see who was your technician and start resolving the issue. Um, that alone, like, because the fact is I do follow HIPAA, right? So I'm not gonna even say who you are. And even if your name on there was the actual name you like is your actual legal name, I'm not gonna interact that way. But I will pull it off of the review and
Mhm.
say all of that to them. Like, hey, like let's resolve this through email. We would love to take good care of you.
Yeah.
And then later on, if they were a patient and they were being mistreated or whatever, once we resolve it, I would just say, would you mind going back and amending it to say that we have reached a resolution and you're satisfied with the resolution? Most of the time it's a yes. The people who want to start a fight, it's never going to be a yes. You're never going to
Yeah.
get a fully satisfied person out of it. And you just kind of have to like realize that you can't lose sleep over that because it's not a you problem at that point. Like you did everything to make sure that you were the right person you could be for your business. And at that point, you have to kind of like let go.
And I think that's kind of the important thing. The reply needs to have some sort of way to resolve the issue. And I feel like as somebody who reads reviews, that would be enough. Like I wouldn't even need to see if it was resolved, like it just to see that like
Mhm.
somebody did a professional response that seems like they're, aware and wanting to fix whatever issue it is, then that just kind of shows, that the business is professional.
Absolutely. Have you guys, both of you being so new, have you guys experienced bad reviews yet? Or has it been
No,
like, I love it. I love hearing
it's
that.
all it's all unicorns and rainbows over here still.
We
You
we are
think you're
here
gonna
for
lose
that.
sleep, Pauline, when the first one comes?
I definitely will lose sleep. I'll hate
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
I'm
very
not
comfortable, just know that, but it
yeah.
passes.
Chat
Yeah.
GPT will help me out, I'm sure.
Yes.
It'll be fine.
Right. I swear. I know that some people don't like it. I'm like, but Chat GPT is my homie. Like,
Yeah.
I had
that's my
this one like stellar review, and I guess he used to work for the Better Business Bureau too, and he just like, said all this stuff in the review. And I went on Chat GPT and to like give him a reply, like a really good reply because he took his time. And when next time I saw him, he was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so professional," and like he just like really complimented me on how professional my response
Oh, your
was and all
reply
that stuff.
was?
But,
How
yeah,
funny. You're like, "Thanks, robot."
right. Yeah.
Nice.
I keep telling myself the reason I'm like that robot is just an extension of my brain. It's giving me the opportunity to like, take off the layer of fog at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Um, because I'll read it and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like
Yeah, that's what I would have written.
it's
What are you
what I
talking
would have
about?
written. I was genius. Today, we want to shine some light on some of our amazing partners who are helping shape the future of electrology education, services, distribution, and so much more. We're thrilled to have such amazing partners and supporters. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned professional, these vendors and schools have what you need to succeed.
Elevate your practice with Silhouette Tone. Known worldwide for their advanced equipment and sleek designs, from epilators to treatment tables, lasers, and more, they provide a gold standard in comfort and performance. Your clients deserve the best, and the Silhouette Tone delivers. Head over to silhouettetone.us to learn more. That's Silhouette Tone, SILHOUETTONE.us to learn more. When it comes to top-tier machines, look no further than Aesthetic Systems. They offer the latest in technology for both the electrology and aesthetics industry. Their machines, furniture, and more are known for reliability and precision, helping the professionals deliver the best results to their clients. Stay ahead of the curve with Aesthetic Systems' innovative tools. You can learn more about them at aestheticsystems.com. That's aestheticsystems.com.
Hey there, electrologists. My name is Hazel Bloom. I'm a life coach for the LGBTQIA+ community and its allies. As a trans woman, I have done the hard work and introspection to figure out who I am, what I want from life, and how to live authentically as myself. These are universal skills that I can teach you and help you gain the confidence to thrive. Also, I know that the conversations with clients on the table can get a bit intense and beyond the scope of electrology, so I'd invite you to refer them to me so they can get the support they need through a tough time instead of taking that burden on yourself. I'm also available as a resource for you if you just need some assistance figuring out how to help a client or to ask any questions. Whatever you need, I can help. My website is kiwifruitcoaching.com, or you can email me directly, hazel@kiwifruitcoaching.com.
Thanks for tuning in to Electrolysis Unplugged. Be sure to check out our amazing sponsors for the best in electrology tools, training, technology, and so much more. Now, back to the show.
Okay, so another great question that came in, how do you handle taxes, or the taxes side of the business? Like, one of the questions is how much how much do you have to not make before you have to report? And they want to make sure that
like 25K.
It's like 25K. It's pretty low.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
low.
Hopefully that's not your business goals.
I'm like, don't do that to yourself. And like, the fact is there's a certain point when you have an LLC that if you never look like you're making money, they're going to take away like your business license. It's I don't know if it's like that in every state, but I know that it's definitely here. So it's like, you don't want to look like you're not making money ever. The reason why these stars reinvent themselves all the time is because they didn't pay taxes fairly ever. And they have to reinvent what that looks like. They have to rebrand what that looks like. We don't want to have that. The part about how do I handle the taxes side of the business, I'll go first on this one. QuickBooks is QuickBooks is where it's at for me. It's worked for larger size businesses that my parents' business. It's worked for mine, which is smaller right now. And for me, it takes this is a no-brainer for me, but I'm really bad at math. Like, when I say I'm really bad at math, and when I look at numbers, it literally gives me it gives me an upset stomach. Sorry, like that's not English, but like it gives me an upset stomach. It makes me like angry that I see it all backwards. And so one of the things for me is like being able to kind of alleviate some of that pain of just that dyscalculia, like being like, okay, I don't understand like what I'm looking at and what I just spent. Can you please, shore me up a bit? Throw all of my receipts into there, hook my business accounts to that. It's just like, and then I see it and I'm like, okay, all right, we did good. Like, or we need to work on this factor. And QuickBooks has just made it so easy. I do talk to my accountant. My accountant is pretty funny about this. They had stated in the past that they didn't like QuickBooks as it stands, like as an easy option. Because if you let it auto set up your folders, they get to have, like, your accountant gets to have a lot of fixing of where those funds should have been because QuickBooks doesn't always put it in the right space. So make sure that when you're setting up folders and you're setting that like auto population into your QuickBooks, if you are using that you just are aware that go in and make sure that like, you know, your expenses are in the right spaces. Because that was their big gripe on it. And they still use it, they still integrate with it, but they didn't want me to go and let QuickBooks tell me how to do my taxes.
I mean, I use QuickBooks too. And I have, you know, CPAs that do all of the payroll and the taxes for the businesses. The one thing that I always kind of kept that I did myself, and while it can be tedious, it's been important for me. I do my own bookkeeping in like a superficial way. So there's the CPA firm has bookkeepers, and they go through all of what I do because that's their job. They do a much better job than me. But I categorize all of the transactions that go through. So it always gives me a really good picture in my mind, you know, of how much I end up spending in all the different categories. I know exactly what transactions are going through all of the different accounts, and all what transactions are going through all the different accounts where I spend my money. I can pull up reports and at least have like an idea as to how stuff gets spent. I've always kind of liked doing my own bookkeeping really for all the businesses, just to have a good idea. So to me, there's not, you know, not even a $2 transaction that doesn't sneak through without me knowing what it is. And so I catch stuff early, you know, like I don't think I'll ever be the type of business owner that like a year later is like, what was that $2,000? What was that spent on? What was that for? Like nothing squeaks by, you know?
I will say that I
You-
did have a second.
go
I mean,
ahead.
my spouse, I co-own my business with my spouse. And he is that person for
He's the
me.
one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, here you go.
Yeah.
This is what I
You
did.
did say Vagaro integrates with QuickBooks and you have that feature enabled. So I've never, I have it connected to my bank accounts, not to Vagaro, because I run off of the cash that actually gets deposited. So my Vagaro sometimes, you know, might be like an inflated number for
Okay.
whatever reason. So I don't go off the revenue that Vagaro goes through. Do you process your credit cards through Vagaro, or do you process through an independent credit card?
For me,
Mm-hmm.
I actually switched off of Vagaro.
So,
So I'm
oh
not,
yeah, you use
so
the patient portal one.
I'm using Practice Fusion for
Practice
our
Fusion.
practice. And
Yeah.
then I'm using, which that's integrated with my medical director.
Mhm.
So I pull my stuff from there, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
Sure.
Because basically I'm 1099 for him
Yeah.
in those spaces, just how we worked it out. But on the clinic side, that's not like insurance based. It's all done through Chase Bank. And
Sure.
then we do all of our charting still through Practice Fusion. The school does it through Fresha. And I mean, Fresha is great for that portion of it, but I was looking into it for the practice before we had Dr. Shine come
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Oh my, that is not a comprehensive program. Like it
No.
is good for scheduling as many students as we want, as many technicians as we
Sure.
want. But when it came to bookkeeping or putting my credit card processing through Vagaro,
Yeah.
my parents ended up, they have Vagaro on because that's how we found it originally.
Sure.
And they also didn't integrate their credit card processing through that QuickBooks. They did everything through their accountant. So they didn't want to link it in that way. I think that basically what my previous accountant back in Arizona said to me is if I utilized that feature in Vagaro, the problem is if you ever decided not to, untangling that web of your finances is catastrophic. It would take time out of everyone's schedule to a point where you'd have like a lull in business, because of how difficult it is to untangle the web. So it's better if you want to use it, it's better to use it like independently
Sure.
so that you're not having to be literally woven through.
Yeah. No, for
So
sure.
the Gusto, a feature on Vagaro, I also did not use that for payroll. We ended up using paychecks for payroll.
Okay.
could I ask a payroll question?
Yeah.
At what point, because like right now I'm just paying with 1099, and I am using Vagaro for that because it's a free on that. But at what point do you make the switch to W-2?
Well, what's the laws for Nevada as far as being the 1099 versus a W-2?
I don't
Have
know.
you looked it up? So
No.
I would probably start there because you don't want to misclassify her. Like I know for California, the state can go after employers that misclassify employees and get 7 years of back pay payroll taxes. And so that is like that can, if you have 10 years or 7 years of, a big ticket employee that should have paid into Medicare, that should have paid into like all these different things, and they slap you with it. It's a big ticket. So you just want to be careful. And sometimes like I'll tell people it's not so much that like Hannah would you and Hannah would get in a fight and then she would say like, I'll show you, and she calls the EDD. Like it's not that, but sometimes it could be like, for example, with COVID shut down a bunch of businesses. And so everybody went on unemployment. Well, we as hairdressers and nail techs and all these people were not eligible for unemployment because we were self-employed and we never paid into unemployment. So they changed that because so many people were out of a job for no reason except for the government told you to. But I'm pretty sure that that's probably been reversed by now. Because I highly doubt that they're keeping that. It was done because of COVID. But truthfully, I should have never been able to have unemployment because I was self-employed.
Yeah,
Unless
I got
had
unemployment
W-2,
during that time too.
Exactly. So, but like you weren't eligible for it. They just made an exception. So now
Right.
let's say Hannah, like for whatever reason, even if it's, like leaves work or loses her job with you, and she decides to go for unemployment because she thinks she's eligible. Then she goes to the EDD, she raises that question, they go and look into her file and they notice that for 5 years, she's been really classified as a 1099 when she should have been a W-2. They go audit your books. They find that you should have been paying her through W-2, which means that you should have been paying the government all these payroll taxes, which they love their taxes. And so they'll come with a bill and they'll say, Pauline, pay up.
Okay.
$10,000, right? So more.
And
So be careful.
I'll tell you, like, so I was W-2 for my parents. A lot of people thought like, oh, I was a co-owner. I was W-2. So I was able to do the COVID unemployment. And I did that so that my parents at the time could focus funds when we were kind of like in the in-between of like when we were going to go back to work and that kind of stuff. So that they could focus those funds on the rest of the employees. And I would just take care of administrative stuff and kind of just keep the behind the scenes going. On my own business, on the training side of things, I did the EDIL, I think those are the letters, loan. And that was such a mistake, mainly because the Small Business Administration did not keep good track of all of it. And for the $1,000 that I got during that time, because of how small my training business was to them, I had to, it was supposed to be 100% forgiven. They found every reason for me to pay it back. And it was just like, and that's fine. Like it was $1,000 and then I just made back, and it works itself out, but it's exhausting. And I would never encourage that. Right now, what I do, so Greta, who works at our clinic, she's a 1099. And what our discussion is once her books were filled, consistently, we would move her to a W-2. And the reason I chose that route is I wanted to make sure that when you have somebody new as a new technician, new to your business, and you don't know the surety of them being with you, and not that I was doubting it, but it's like there was so much coming at me that I was doubting everything at that point, right? Because it's like there's so much new. And so I wanted to make sure that it was something that she wanted to do long term. So I did a short contract. We did a 6-month contract. And then we would revisit it 6 months and then negotiate a W-2. And so that was how I did it. So that past 6 months, if she was staying on and she was fully, committed to growing her schedule, that she could then be a W-2. That way, if I ever got hit with taxes, it was 6 months of expenses, not years upon years of trying to figure it out. That
Okay.
was, and I will tell you guys, and I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty details because it was just like complete nightmare bookkeeping mistake for myself. But in 2016, I was audited, and it was it was literally like when we think of like clerical mistakes on my end, and it was like right after I had my tummy tuck. I did my taxes while I was not okay. Like, and I just think that there were so many oversights that they were like, hey, like, this doesn't look right. And I had misclassified like which one I was, like married and filing jointly, and that like I mean, I did everything I could possibly do wrong. That was the year I went to having an accountant. That was like, never again would I ever do that. And I was like, this was my mistake. I paid everything I needed to pay. We moved past it, but I lost sleep for months over that. And I will tell you guys, like, do your homework in your spaces. Because like I would never, I'm bad at lying. Like I'm not that person. So when it happened to me, I felt like I was like guilty, even though what I was guilty of was like negligence and being an idiot at the time, of how to do my taxes on my own. And like I had like an enrolled agent do my stuff before that, but it just wasn't the same. And it was not it was like a friend of the family that just was like, "Oh, yeah, kiddo," kind of thing. And it just, I now I'm like, make sure that you follow every last thing down to the period at the end of the sentence, because it's exhausting. Like when you go through all that, and like, I mean, we're fine now, but in 2016, that was not fun, especially after like just spending a bunch of money on a tummy tuck that I thought I had to spend. And I had, and then I paid that to Uncle Sam too. I was like, oops. So mistakes were made. You learn your lesson and you move on from it. But you have to make sure that you stay on top of that stuff, because when those mistakes are made, and anybody can make them, if they're not doing their homework.
Yeah. You don't want to be
Reps-
negligent with that kind of stuff. And it doesn't have to be complicated. If it's not in your wheelhouse, it's not something you're comfortable with, it's not something you're good at. That's why you can just hire like it could be like just a little CPA firm that kind of does everything in-house. The firm that I use, they can do as much or as little as I want them to. So I outsource most of it, and I don't even have to do the bookkeeping that I do. Technically, they have a bookkeeper that does it. I just like I'm a little bit of a micromanager with things, or I like to see what comes through and how everything goes. So I do that part to a certain extent. I like to understand where the money comes in and where it goes. So that's important for me. But like the payroll is outsourced. Any of the taxes that they have to do, programs that they find that I might benefit for, they're the ones that keep up to date with that kind of stuff. And any rules and that change in the state that might apply to me, they're the ones that do that. During COVID, when they had those grants and these things, they'll be the one, you can do this one. They take care of all the paperwork, all the applications, what comes in, what goes out. I did none of that. So I get an email and I get a bill in the mail. I guess that's all I get. And then you pay. So just find somebody good. Who does your taxes now? Do you have do you do them yourself or do you hire out? Pauline.
Oh, I mean, I was gonna do them myself. I
maybe
normally do, mainly because I need to find someone, and I haven't been able to find someone, and yeah, it's
I,
yeah.
my biggest recommendation to everybody on this call and everybody that watches this later is, even if in your first year it's someone you found that had 5 stars on Google, you keep it simple. You don't have to, because right now you don't have to go big on this, because
No.
because you're starting out, right? But as it grows, that's when you have to consider those things. And so I would definitely, if you are my child in Zapling, I would say it's time to start looking on Google and just finding yourself a CPA close enough to you with good enough ratings. Look at their
Yes.
reviews. Also look at the bad reviews just to see, like, are they just Karens out there just having fun on the page, or are they people that like really did get,
A legitimate bad
a
review.
legitimate issue.
Yeah.
And that's how I would start it. That's how I did it here. When I got here, I just went and I asked everybody around. I got myself there's a bookkeeper who works for a local accountant that is like the person that everybody goes to, and they do all of the bookkeeping portion of it. They submit it to the accountant. The accountant gives it that that stamp of approval. Make sure that the bookkeeper is kept in line with every little step. And they work for like large nonprofits out here, large companies, small companies, and that's what I did. So I mean, I found them because of the port of because I live in Chehalis. So the port of Chehalis uses them, and I was like, well, if the port uses them and they're this price, I'm fine. Like, because that's a government agency.
Yeah.
So, the we have a little under 10 minutes left. So we have 2 questions that I think could get fit into that area. Best chair you've worked with and the worst is one. And then the Apple's question that we got about the cataphoresis rollers.
Okay.
So I think they're both easy enough to answer. So what's the best chair that you've worked with that you love the most working? And what's been the worst for you?
Honestly, it's funny because like what I prefer, and then now that we're 9 in my office, it's like everybody's choices are so different. And so I know what I prefer, and I know, like I just like the little round seat, I do my 2 posi flexes. I have to have both my elbows and my shoulders they're both lazy. They both need rest. And like I like the chair has to be able to go up and down. The backrest has to be adjustable. So like I have to have that kind of adjustability. But and just today, actually, one of my staff members requested another different chair. I had offered it before and she was like, no, don't spend money. But now she's like, I want it. Spend money. So it's actually, do you remember from the AEA conference, the one company that sells those like ergonomic
BQ ergonomic?
Yeah, BQ
Oh.
ergonomics. So them.
Yeah.
So I had ordered one for an employee 2 years ago.
The
And
saddle.
yeah. And so now I have 3 girls that fight over that chair. And one of them happens to be there at the same day that the girl who I got the chair for originally works. And so she doesn't take the chair because the first girl who had the chair has it. But so she texts me and she's like, I know you offered it, but can I have one now? So I have to get another one. So those were I think that chair with the 2 posi flexes was close to $1,200. So not a cheap thing, but it's comfort and positioning is a real thing in this business. So
Yeah, I bought that chair also.
yeah,
I bought the dental one with the
Yes.
like the big one, the big fat
Sure.
seat.
yeah.
And
And I
with
get
the
it,
armrest, and I'm obsessed. Yeah,
Yeah.
no regrets, no regrets.
Exactly. It's one of those things, if it's longevity of your career and your, health of your body, it's one of those things like you don't cheap out with equipment, So that's that. And then I have another one. She likes the wide seat. I hate that one because I feel like I'm always perched on the end. And so
Yeah.
it's just, everybody's got their thing. So I think you just have to see what works for you. I guess that's my answer.
Mine, so it's so funny because I've like worked with so many different chairs, having all the girls in the office too. I do not want to be on a stool.